This is my Sierra Design Zeta 4 tent. Very comfortable 3-person tent, I would say, 4 in a pinch. We just went through a torrential downpour at Setback Antostigan in Reserve Faunique La Vérendrye, the nature preserve in Quebec, about 3 hours north of Ottawa. The fly was great, kept the rain out really well, so I should say I bought this about 5-6 years ago and I haven't had to treat it since. It's been just a fantastic tent. I love it. Now during that downpour, the fly was great, waterproof. We had a lot of water going under the tent and it was coming up through the floor, so I'm going to waterproof the floor on this this guy. First thing you do, set up the inner tent, and see I have the whole structure set up there. You can see I have a little bit of debris in there that has collected up. I'm going to shake that out, zip the door open, shake out the debris, and then waterproof the floor. I'll show you how I do that. So basically I flip it over upside down. This stuff I find works really well. I've got another video on using this stuff a number of years ago on a different tent, and I've been using it ever since. Works really well. If this won't waterproof your tent, that means there's actually problems with the material. It's starting to deteriorate, and then you're going to have to look at a silicone treatment, which I will make a video on that as well. So basically you're just spraying this on and wiping it with a cloth to make sure it gets all wiped in. And this has what's called a bathtub floor. The floor actually goes up a few inches. And make sure you get the whole bathtub floor treated. And this also has some material on the door. Not so much worried about treating that, just the full bathtub floor. So I'm just giving it a good soaking, being mindful that there's the halfway line, that seam. Being mindful that I'm using less than half of the product. You can see it's building up there. You want it to soak right in. And I'm going to wipe it around with the cloth that I have. Once I get the bottom soaked in, I can use the cloth to soak up the sides with the residual product that you see pooling up here. So give it a really good spray. Alright, and I'll show you how I do the rest. Alright, so basically once it's sprayed on, you just rub it all in to make sure it all gets a really good soaking. And you can wring your cloth out in spots to get more stuff and give the whole thing a good going over like this. This is just a blue shop towel. I'll throw it away when I'm done. Well, you can see it's soaked in here. It's starting to dry up here. The wet spots you see are still the product that hasn't dried out yet. I've managed to get probably 2 coats on the whole thing, including I really gave a good soak to the seams where these tie points are attached. I gave it a good spray in there, so this should do wonders for this tent. And maybe I'll go another 5 years or so before I have to treat it again if I can care for it properly. But everything went well, just as I showed, and I'm just going to let it sit out here and dry now. You can see a big wet spot here. I'm just going to let it sit and dry out. Big wet spot in the middle there. And the fact that there's no white residue on the outside means that it's really managed to soak in, because I've done it. The first time I did this years ago, there was a ton of white residue left on the outside after it dried up, which means you didn't get the product to really soak in the way it should, or you just wasted a whole bunch basically. Something I should have filmed earlier. Can't excuse me, can't really see them anymore. Be careful letting it dry. You'll see some spots that are darker where it kind of looks from an initial glance that it's dry, but you compare it and there's like a dark stain here and no dark stain there. That means the dark stain is not fully dried yet. I can see a little bit here, but I don't think you can see that on the camera. So just really let it dry out well. So one thing that may not be obvious when you're treating this, so you can see this is a 4-person tent. I'm 5'9" generously, and I can just barely reach into the middle. So when you're treating this, you want to soak the hell out of the middle first. You can reach it better sometimes standing up with your foot in the door. There's a door here, so I could put my foot in the door, stand up. But you want to really soak out the center first and work your way out, because if I soak here first and try to work my way in, I'm going to get soaked just leaning up against that really wet material there. So start in the center, soak it all out, and work your way out. And by the time you're ready for your second coat, that'll be dry again. One of the edges will be dry. You can start on that edge and give it another go.